Today, President Biden was joined by Senator Bernie Sanders as he delivered a speech on lowering the cost of health care. Yep, Biden and Bernie spoke, although it was hard to concentrate with all the pill timers going off.
I think that...
Pill timers, the pill time, because they're both aged. You see, the pill timers, Bernie and the Bolshevik. Was he actually there in St. Petersburg for the Bolshevik Revolution? There are mixed takes on that. I'll have to check into that. Well, happy Thursday and welcome. Welcome back. Well, about 21 hours have passed since we had convened yesterday, and the Democrats have done a lot of crazy. You see, in Fairfax County, Virginia, a street takeover, they call it a street takeover, left a police officer injured. It's not clear whether it's a gang of illegal aliens from Venezuela or cartel members or Democrats. But what's the difference? Chances are, any way you slice it, Democrats. It's Democrats behind the violent attack on the police in Fairfax County. A violent mob, a crowd swarming a police cruiser. Sure, not a thing. Ford charged in street takeover, left officer injured. And I will share that with you because that's typical. The Democrats are an anti-police violent mob, but they are pro-crime and pro-criminal and pro-foreign gang. So it's not like they're against everything. See, they're in favor of bad things and they're against good things. That's because they're not liberals. They're the left. Totally different thing. We've got a lot to cover today, as is so often the case. Honestly, the Democrat Party is much too giving when it comes to me and people like me because they give me 4 to 5 hours of content every day. As soon as I leave, in fact, while I'm on the air, they're already ginning up my tomorrow's show with all of their madness, complete madness. There are a lot of politics going on because it's an election year in America. The Democrats have lots of schemes in mind, lots of schemes. They really want to win. And one of their famous sayings is, by any means necessary. And they have violent mobs and criminals, and they've got all kinds of schemes with mail-out ballots. Do you see the millions of new voters that have been registered without using an ID anywhere? Millions of illegal aliens into the country, thanks to the Democrats. And then millions of people registered to vote without IDs. Just a coincidence. Really, it's only a coincidence. Just don't claim that the Democrats are planning on having millions of illegal aliens vote on Election Day. Why do you think they fight to have no ID? Who doesn't have an ID? Homeless people have iPhones. In Georgetown, Washington, D.C., homeless people literally have cardboard signs in front of them instructing you as to how to send them money by Venmo. By Venmo. What's the other one? They got that other one too. Venmo, and you can transfer money, which means you've got to have not only a phone, an iPhone, a smartphone, and most of them do, the homeless people do have iPhones because it's America, and then we give cell phones to illegal aliens when they get here too because we're very generous people and the Democrats want them to vote for them. But that's another thing altogether. And they send me, Venmo me money. So when to Venmo somebody, you got to have a bank account, right? I think you have to have an ATM card, and you certainly have to have a smartphone. And those are the homeless people in Washington, D.C., because we're living in very, very disturbing times, and disturbed times, extraordinary. Now, so much to talk about. Yeah. Fairfax, Virginia, that's not New York City or Chicago. The illegal street takeover tried to open the doors of the police car with, police officers inside, and one police officer injured because Democrats. Now, Democrats, they're very upset about a lot of things. They're mentally disturbed in most cases, don't know how many genders there are and things like that. A new poll has the Democrats quaking in their ladylike moccasins, quaking in their pumps, because a new poll shows that Joe Biden is doing very poorly and losing to Donald Trump in key battleground states. They always use this militaristic language, right? The war room, battleground, all this stuff. It sounds like they're starting the next civil war, just like the Democrats started the last civil war. But poll reveals battleground state voters prefer Trump over Biden in heated 2024 contest. Oh, is it a heated contest? Remarkable stuff. We've got a lot of Democrat madness today. The Department of Justice demands prison time for the young woman that happened upon Ashley Biden's diary, because in another classic demonstration of passive-aggressive behavior by the Biden children, Ashley Biden left her diary behind at a rehab facility, I believe, right? And it was full of stuff like, Dad showered with me when it was very inappropriate, and I'm a sex addict because of my father's behavior, and I'm a drug addict because of my father's behavior. And when that was made public through James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, the FBI raided the home and the office because, the Biden family is protected like the Marcos family in the Philippines. And the FBI and the Justice Department have been so corrupted by the left in this country that they target their political enemies, the political enemies of the Democrat Party, and in this case, the Biden family, when they do all this crazy stuff like leave the laptop and leave the diary. You got a lot of issues with your children, Mr. President, and not a Dr. Biden. But they're demanding prison time for the woman that hey, look, there's diary was left here. How dare you read a diary that was left here? And then shared it with somebody and sold it. But now prison time, not just supervised anything or probation. And Hunter Biden walks free with his many, many violations of the law, from tax offenses to the FARA Act, acting as a foreign agent and all that, but never mind that. Also, the White House under Joe Biden has directed NASA, our space agency, to create a time zone for the moon. For the moon. The moon is going to get its own time zone because Joe Biden, remember he talked about how he was got the moon shot to cure cancer? Well, apparently it just turned into a time zone instead. No cure for cancer, which was already being worked on when he came in, and there was really nothing. That was a big lie. That was ridiculous. Oh, it's a moonshot to cure cancer. You've not heard a peep about that since, because it was all just another big lie. But the White House directs NASA to create time standard for the moon. So when the Chinese get there, they'll know what time it is. Pretty remarkable. It doesn't really matter what time it is on the moon. You're on the dark side, or you're on the side with sunlight. But pay no attention to that. That'll come in real handy at no point in anybody's life, though. And I'm sure it'll cost a lot of money because they're ridiculous people. Jeff Bezos maybe, or Elon Musk will be able to use that time zone on the moon with their missions. I don't think Bezos will go himself. Musk might, though. And so a time zone for the moon, that'll come in. We have this upcoming eclipse. The eclipse is coming. And some are predicting Armageddon when the solar eclipse takes place. I'm not predicting Armageddon for that. But there is a mayor in Michigan says that some of his constituents, he must live in a Democrat district, some of his constituents have come to him and told him to stop the eclipse from happening. He explained to them that he doesn't have the authority, that's the word that he used, the authority to stop the eclipse, which is pretty funny. Every day is an IQ test, and as a nation, we're not doing very well these days. That's for sure. This is one of my favorite stories, though. Federal government funding, that's our tax dollars, of course, under the Biden administration, going to a university in Houston, Texas, and the they're funding research to investigate whether microaggressions, those are tiny aggressions, tiny, little teeny tiny aggressions. Microaggressions might be causing Latinx people, and that's what it says in the form Latinx, Latinx, no dash, no capital X, just all little letters except the L. Latinx, that's Latinx. That's because they're trying to strip gender away from the Romance languages, from Spanish and Italian. You can't be a Latino and a Latina. Now you're just a Latinx because you have no genitalia, you have no genetic code, you're neither male nor female, you're only Latinx. And Latin American people don't like that because they like women and they're women like men. The men like women, and for the most part, that's how that goes there. But the Democrats and Joe Biden and the White House, the U.S. government, says that Latinx people are fat, drunk chain smokers because terrible white Americans have inflicted microaggressions on them. And you'll never believe what the microaggressions are. They define some of the microaggressions that are being perpetrated against the Latinx people. And they're really horrible. We're such a terrible country and a terrible culture because the left says so. They've just taken a short break from murdering people by the millions. But give them time. Give them time. They're the left. Remarkable stuff. In fact, there was a funny moment on a college campus. It was days ago now, where a man that goes around and preaches Christianity on college campuses was attacked by a left-wing young man who's been totally brainwashed. And he thinks that the MAGA people are going to murder him. He must watch MSDNC. His favorite presidential historian is Michael Beschloss, who needs help from a doctor, professional help from a doctor, with the things that he says, and he says them on MSDNC and things. Yeah, but we've got that for you too. Just amazing. And because they're such racists, the Biden Health Department, don't they? They have that big transgender person there, that man that used to play football with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who says he's a lady admiral now. And Biden's health department allocates $422,000 to treat diabetes. That sounds like a good idea. With Native American healing circles. Hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? Hey, you got diabetes over there? Try this. Hi, how are you? Amazing stuff, just great. Also, the wife of one of the judges the judge in the President Trump hush money case. You know, the non-disclosure agreement that the networks and the newspapers have people sign all the time. Wife of judge in Trump hush money case in that trial worked for the Attorney General Letitia James. Well, that's no problem. And the daughter of another judge works for companies that brought in tens of millions of dollars on the very same topic that her father is presiding over. But that's all okay because the New York Times is not a newspaper. It's a Democrat Party press release that comes out 7 days a week. Pretty amazing stuff. Also, the news media very, very upset because President Trump has announced he's going to be holding a fundraiser in Palm Beach in Florida, and he expects to raise $43 million. $43 million. And the headline at left-wing Axios is Eclipsing Biden's Historic $26 million night. You know, the one in New York with Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, who got a date out of that night. He got a date. So that's why he went big time for him. Trump set to raise $43 million at fundraiser, eclipsing Biden's historic $26 million night. And you'll never guess what the media is doing here. It was great when this is historic. They've raised more money than any other fundraiser in the history. Because everyone loves them as much as we do at the Washington Post. And it couldn't have been a greater thing. And Trump said that night or the next day, I've got a fundraiser scheduled. I'm going to raise a lot more than that. And they said, get money out of politics. This corrupt money. Billionaires. Yesterday, the front page of the Washington Post, billionaire bails out Trump. Who do you think was paying $500,000 each to get their picture taken at Radio City Music Hall with Obama, Clinton, and Biden? You think they're like homeless people, gang members from Venezuela? I don't think so. Yeah, the news media was very excited. Biden taps Obama, Clinton in record-setting $26 million fundraiser at Radio City Music Hall, moderated by Stephen Colbert. It couldn't have been greater. Then a Republican does the same thing, only better, and that's bad. That's real bad. And I don't know, are they paying $500,000 each for an Annie Leibovitz photo of themselves with Trump? Pretty amazing stuff. We've got that. I do love the Latinx, the fat, drunk, chain-smoking Latinx, which the federal government is defining them as. They're only that way because you white people, you microaggress them. Tiny little aggressions. Pretty amazing stuff. Got an update on the World Central Kitchen. 7 people killed in the Gaza in an Israeli airstrike. And that's not at all like the drone strike in Afghanistan where Joe Biden ordered a drone strike and it killed 10 civilians and a whole bunch of children and a 2-year-old. It's not like that at all. It's completely different. But, that's because were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all. We've got crime stories because the Democrats are waving presumably millions of criminals into the country. From Michigan to New York, we've got the squatters and the home invaders, and we've got Chileans on the scene now, not just Venezuelans and Ecuadorians and Mexicans and Chinese. Oh, much more Chinese, a whole bunch more Chinese communists into the country too. But never mind any of that. Also in Chicago, we really didn't get to this, but over the weekend in Chicago, 32 people shot, 7 killed in the deadliest weekend of 2024. That's not news, though. That's the same number that were killed in the St. Valentine's Day massacre generations ago. That was a big deal. Now it's just Saturday. Democrats murdered a canine, a police dog, stabbing it to death because that's what criminals do. Gavin Newsom won't pay the minimum wage, even though he just signed the new minimum wage law. He won't pay the minimum wage at his restaurants because don't you know who he is? Remarkable stuff. We're at 888-630-9625.
Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com.
I'm looking forward to the big eclipse, although actually I'm going to be at work. I'm probably going to have to miss the eclipse because I'm going to be indoors. I work indoors most of the time and probably not going to be able to. But I love this solar eclipse 2024 from bridgemichigan.com. The only Michigan town that is in the path of totality is called Luna Pier. Luna Pier, that's 2 words, L-U-N-A, like the moon, P-I-E-R, Luna Pier. In southeastern Michigan, falls on the edge of totality. The edge of totality, it's like a soap opera name. The city has begun working with various agencies to prepare for an influx of visitors looking for the best spot to see the entire eclipse. It's a remarkable thing. I can't wait. Concerns about traffic loom, and city officials are encouraging people to go to Toledo. Why don't you go to Toledo? That's in Ohio. It's the closest place to Michigan with a good view. But it's a remarkable thing. Monroe County in Michigan, population of about 1,300 people preparing for a massive influx. And they've got some motels and hotels, and they're filling up because people are headed there. I hope it's not a cloudy day because that'd be kind of a bummer, wouldn't it? And that could it's going to happen in a lot of places. It's going to be overcast time of year and everything. And people have gotten hotel rooms and travel plans and all kinds of things in place. And then if it's cloudy, it's going to put a real damper on it. Now, eclipse chasers traveling to Luna Pier are advised to leave early to get a good spot. But going back home may be more of a hassle than anything. And the mayor of Luna Pier, James Gardner, not Garner, but like the actor, says it's not too hard to get here, but getting out on I-75 North is the main point of egress there. He said, so it'll be everybody leaving at the same time is going to be a big problem. I think in Oklahoma they've called out the National Guard because they're expecting a lot of the same stuff there. And the mayor said, I've been told that I need to stop this eclipse. He's been told by voters, by constituents, that he needs to stop the eclipse. Bam, bam, ba-dam, bam, ba-dam, bam. Well, we had a bit of clock confusion here. A little bit of pandemonium. And I think our karma ran over our dogma. I have friends that have a biological dog. They have a biological dog. What's a biological dog? It's kind of like a biological man, you know, except it's a dog. That's all. Why would you add the word biological? in front of the word dog? That's a good question. Why would you add the word biological in front of the word man? See what I'm saying? All right, let's get back to Michigan, because in Michigan, they've got a mayor, James Garner, of a town in Michigan that's supposed to be an ideal location for the upcoming solar eclipse. And interestingly, the town in southeast Michigan is called Luna Pier. Population of about 1,300 people. And the mayor, James Garner, there, he's giving people instructions that could be a choke point, and it might not be easy to get out after the eclipse. And people are making plans and taking precautions and all that. But the mayor, and not the actor James Garner, but the mayor, James Garner, says, I've been told I need to stop the eclipse. That's what he said. I've been told that I need to stop this eclipse. And I do not have the authority to do that, Garner said. So yes, people are really concerned, but we're just trying to prepare them by explaining the traffic and the choke points and all this stuff. So he's telling people to go to Toledo, more ins and outs with highways and things, and still a pretty good view. The mayor, James Garner, people have told him to stop the eclipse because every day is an IQ test. I blame public education in the United States of America for this. This is not an intelligent request from a citizen, from a taxpayer, to say, hey, mayor, you're a powerful man. You're the mayor of a little town in Michigan. You should stop the eclipse because it will be inconvenient for our town of 1,300 people, Luna Pier, which I'm sure is a beautiful and wonderful place, full of normal people. But they've apparently got a couple of Democrats because people went to the mayor and asked him to stop the solar eclipse. I would have told him no. I would have said, no, I'm looking forward to the eclipse and I'm going to allow it to proceed, I would have said. But that'd be more fun. That'd be more fun for me. Now, Democrats, they're a wacky bunch. I don't know what happened to them. They used to be much more normal than they are now. Now, very abnormal, very, very abnormal in so many different ways, in myriad ways. Attacking the police in Fairfax County. And I'll get to that. I've got some audio for you on that because, and the squatters in New York, Democrats love squatters who are foreign gang members moving into other people's houses and stealing their houses. And you see, they had a pile of guns and lots of drugs at this place in the Bronx, New York, the house that they stole. And the Democrats, and they got a judge that says, let them go. Bail? No bail. Let them go. But they're in the country illegally. One of the illegals actually shot somebody in the leg already, which is what Joe Biden recommended people do. He recommended that police shoot people in the leg.
The idea that instead of standing there and teaching a cop when there's an unarmed person coming at him with a knife or something to shoot him in the leg instead of in the heart is a very different thing. And there's a lot of different things that can change.
Yeah, that's true. When an unarmed person is coming at the police with a knife, he said, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean. An unarmed person does not have a knife. We shouldn't have to explain that to the leader of the free world and the president of the United States. But it turns out you have to, because his brain, she's a broke, she's a no good, that brain of his, that one is a no good. That's a terrible thing. Now, the Democrats are such racists. How racist are they? Well, they gave us the Confederate States of America and the KKK and every Jim Crow law. They stood in schoolhouse doors, and only Democrats stood in schoolhouse doors. And every single Jim Crow law was a Democrat law. They're terribly racist. They gave us the Civil War, the American Civil War, you may remember. And now they've got a plan to use our tax dollars. The Daily Caller has the story, and the Washington Post doesn't because it's not a real newspaper. Their slogan is, it looks like a newspaper, but it's not. The Daily Caller headline, Feds funding research to see if microaggressions are making Latinx people fat, nicotine addicted, alcoholics. Well, sure, that would explain it, I think. Now, first of all, I think that the whole study suggests that Latin American people are more inclined to be fat, alcoholic chain smokers. Doesn't it imply that? We're going to find out why so many Latinx people, and Latinx is is anti-gender. It's anti-science. It's anti-romance language. It's anti-Latin American. The federal government has spent nearly $1 million on research investigating whether or not racial microaggressions are negatively impacting the health of Hispanic people. Researchers at the University of Houston, they have a university in Houston now, have received $958,283. How many cents? In grant funding from the Department of Health and Human Services. They have that man there, don't they? And the National Institutes of Health. There's not just one, there are multiple institutes of health, to determine if ethnic microaggressions, because everybody's such a racist in terrible America, the least racist country on the planet, directed toward Latinx populations, and they actually, in the documents from the government, they spell it Latinx, Latinx. Latinx populations are leading to elevated rates of alcoholism, smoking, and obesity.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Grant records show. That was Dean Vernon Wormer from Faber College. I love that guy. One of the HHS-funded studies defines microaggressions, listen now, as, and quoting now, brief, subtle forms of everyday discrimination due to racial/ethnic status. When they put slash in there, do you think that's racist? Do you think that is about gang members with machetes and things like that? Here are examples of microaggressions that might cause alcoholism among Latinx people. Where are you from? See, if someone says, where are you from? That's a microaggression. And do you speak English? That's a microaggression. Whenever you ask, do you speak English, you should ask it extra loud. It works much better when you can't just say, you speak English? You have to say, do you speak English? You got to lean forward and raise your eyebrows and say, do you speak English? But it turns out, according to the Joe Biden administration and the federal government, that is a microaggression, which is a very, very tiny aggression, much better than a maxi aggression, which might involve stabbing or shooting people, completely different, robbing your house, stealing your car at gunpoint, things like that. Maybe shooting and killing 25-year-old Ruby Garcia in Michigan. That would be a macroaggression, wouldn't it? Don't you think? Or maybe bashing the skull of 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley, because that was, Laken Riley was murdered by an illegal alien gang member from Venezuela, whose illegal alien gang member brother was also arrested for all kinds of crimes in the United States. And the illegal alien from Mexico that shot and killed Ruby Garcia, shot her, then got out of his car and walked around and shot her a couple more times to make sure she was dead, 25-year-old Ruby Garcia. But she's not important. George Floyd is important because of all the fentanyl and methamphetamine coursing through his bloodstream when he died of heart failure while resisting arrest. He's the hero of the story to the Democrat Party. But microaggressions include saying, where are you from, asking where are you from, or asking, do you speak English? And they were identified as examples of verbal microaggressions targeting Hispanic individuals. We're a very international country. We've got people from all over the world. You might be from any country in the world, and people might ask if you speak English. Usually after hearing you speak another language, then you might ask, do you speak English? If you speak Spanish and you're in the United States and you don't speak English, you might ask someone, habla español. You might ask the American if they speak Spanish, because it would be helpful under certain circumstances if they did. See how that works? That's called human communication. That's communication between humans from different places, and it's been going on forever. But never mind that. Those are microaggressions and targeted, and they use the word targeted, at Hispanic individuals in a University of Houston press release announcing the smoking research grant. Because, don't drink, don't smoke. What do? You don't drink, don't smoke. How do you do that in Spanish? Can you sing that in Spanish? Let's try that in Espanol. Researchers associated with the largest grant, which received $611,203. Yeah, how do they come up with that number, you think, for like the $3 is for paper clips at the end or something? And the HHS funding began in September of 2023, months ago. and will stretch into July of 2026, according to federal awards records, evaluating microaggressions among Latinx individuals with obesity. That's the thing. Well, what are you complaining about? You got three different complaints. You got the obesity, you got the drunkenness, you got the chain smoking. That's the name of the project, though. Evaluating microaggressions among Latinx individuals with obesity who might also drink a lot of liquor and smoke a lot of cigs. May be they say microaggressions, quote, may be an under-recognized factor. It's under-recognized. Obesity-related eating and physical inactivity behaviors, probably caused by microaggressions like, where are you from? You can see how that'd be quite traumatizing. You know. Specifically, the study will investigate whether or not microaggressions cause, quote, greater emotional eating, food cravings, loss of control while eating. Sure, of course. Where are you from? Oh, no, get me a cheeseburger. Maybe a breakfast burrito from the Bogota. Maybe you should get a breakfast burrito from the Bogotas, as Dr. Jill Biden would say, because she no habla español, that's for sure.
As unique as the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio.
Woo! And where do you get your breakfast burritos? I've had breakfast tacos. I don't know if, breakfast burrito sounds pretty good. But
as distinct as the Bogotas of the Bronx?
The Bogotas of the Bronx. Those are bodegas. That's the bodega. That's great. So, yeah, greater emotional eating, food cravings, loss of control while eating, and episodes of overeating, greater fears of exercise among Latinos, or as they say in the documents, Latinx. Latinx hazardous drinkers.
Latinx.
Colon. Evaluating microaggressions on the other HHS-funded study, receiving $194,238. And that makes perfect sense. And taxpayer funding will run from September 23 to August of 2028. This is going to go on for a long time. To look into Latinx hazardous drinking, the study will examine the influence of microaggressions on alcohol use, motivation, and hazardous drinking. Latinx is a gender-neutral term that some left-of-center activists push to refer to Hispanic people. Among Hispanics familiar with the term, roughly two-thirds oppose the use of the term, according to a 2019 Pew Research survey. Probably a much greater number now. Just amazing. Yes, sir. All right, let's grab a phone call. What do you say? Let's go to Mike, calling from Houston, Texas, where they have the University of Houston, where they get to do this study. Mike, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, America. How is everybody out there?
Just great,
Hey, Chris, all I have to do is go 60 miles to be right in the eclipse path.
Uh-huh.
And I think that would be just a total waste of time because all I got to do is look up in the sky, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, wherever you are, there's going to be an eclipse. I wouldn't really, I was thinking about that. What's that song, You're So Vain? You flew your Learjet up to Nova Scotia to see a total eclipse of the sun.
Yes. That's just crazy, all you got to do is, and plus, okay, when I was a kid, I was told never look at the sun. Never look directly into the sun. So,
Good advice.
There's going to be a lot of blind people next week. That's all I got to say.
It's true. They love to point at President Trump. The last eclipse a handful of years ago was on the south lawn of the White House because you could see it from everywhere because the moon is blocking the sun. And I don't think moving a few feet is going to make a lot of difference. And President Trump looked up, and the media assailed him for that. They still assail him. Oh, look, he's blind. He squinted. He took a glance. They made such a big story out of it. Now, Joe Biden, they're probably going to have in the basement in the iron lung because they know he's not safe in an eclipse. And it could lead to the Armageddon, I'm told, Mike.
Well, and you know what I think, Chris?
What?
I think that mayor, that those people in Michigan need to talk to that D.C. councilman that says that the Jews run the weather, so they must also run the sun and the moon.
That is an excellent point. Treyon White is his name, the D.C. city councilman who says that the Rothschilds and the Jews make it snow in Washington and control the weather.
Right. But going back to U of H, okay, you know, what, okay, first place, you know, I have lived in the South and Texas most of my life. Now, I will tell you, here in Texas, there are no Latinxes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the ones that are going to the U of H, they had to have been shipped into this state from one of those blue states. I mean, they got to be New Yorkers or something that are running this study, but it's not true. But okay, you got to look at it this way. Culturally, the Latinos, the Hispanics, look at their diet. Their diet consists mainly of carbs.
A lot of carbs.
You got bean, rice, cheese, corn. Now, come on.
Sounds good. Well, it's microaggressions. Mike, you're not enlightened enough to know that it is you. You're the problem. I'm the problem. We engage in microaggressions by asking outrageous questions like, where are you from? And during the course of conversation, you might say, you know, very, very early on, probably, you might say, do you speak English? But those are microaggressions, according to the Democrat Party, the party of the bullwhip and slavery and lynching and Jim Crow laws and standing in schoolhouse doors. Remember, Joe Biden didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle in Delaware. That's what Joe Biden said. Amazing, amazing stuff. Yeah, Mike, well, good luck. I hope you survive the eclipse down there. Maybe you check back in afterward and let me know that you lived. And avoid those microaggressions. Don't ask people where they're from, because they might chug a bottle of tequila and jam a breakfast burrito from a Bogota down their throats, down their pie holes, and, you know, it'd be a burrito hole, I guess. Thank you, Michael.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
Yes. Now, we had a giant container ship crash into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore recently and collapsed the bridge, and 6 human beings were killed, and it was a terrible event. And now this bridge that was designed and specifically used for hazardous materials transportation. My best girl and I over the weekend were talking, said, well, they should bring in ferry boats from Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket and stuff. But the rich people in Obama wouldn't allow that. And he's one of the rich people. And have the hazmat trucks brought back and forth across the Baltimore harbor with ferry boats. But that's not being done. The word is now leaking out. Experts, as they say, Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse and the salvage effort to clear it out is going very slowly, because we have a law called the Jones Act that prevents us from using foreign flagged salvage ships that would expedite matters significantly. And Joe Biden just sent all of our heavy equipment that we'd be using here to build a port in Gaza for Hamas, the terrorist organization Hamas. They win, we lose.